Welcome in. This is DUNAWAY After Dark on a late Sunday night while the Bears and the Texans are playing some football over there. We're going to talk a little college football and get going live tonight. I will tell you a couple of things first. I'm solo, so if you don't like me, there's no Taylor or EG or anybody cool that's going to come on and talk football with you tonight. It's just me. I've had the hiccups for like the last 15 minutes. I never usually have the hiccups this long. Had them for 15 minutes now, won't go away. Trying a little bourbon now to get this back in a better place. But the hiccups will not go away. So if I have a hiccup through this, I apologize. It's been one of those days where I'm way behind on everything. I've gone to the golf course for a big women's college tournament. It's in town at Hoover that UAB is hosting. And I spent the afternoon out there and got to play golf with some cool folks from Tennessee Tech. Sydney Branson was on my team. And we had a blast out on the golf course today. So thanks for being with us. And let's talk a little football. A couple of betting lines first. But as you join us, do a couple of things. If you're not subscribed everywhere to Next Round Live yet, please do that for us, including here on YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure you're following us there. Even if you're on YouTube, go to our Facebook, go to our Twitter, go to our Instagram, go to our TikTok. Go to our Snapchat everywhere, Next Round Live, likes, follows, subscribe, all that stuff. Give us a thumbs up. That helps us a lot. Also, mybookie.ag, promo code Next Round. Promo code Next Round gets you in the game there for this weekend and every weekend. And you can also jump in with our friends at Rowback. I have a very stinky, wet Rowback golf shirt on now. It's great gear. They don't come used. You get fresh ones and new ones when you go to rowback.com. Rowback.com, code TNR20, 20% off. TNR20, 20% off. You'll see very shortly why I never host a show by myself. I usually like to talk to someone. So you guys have got an important role tonight as we chat about some stuff. First off, if you missed the AP poll earlier today, Texas jumped Georgia. Texas 35 first place votes, Georgia 23 first place votes. I will tell you first off that I don't have a problem with this because I debate on who has the best win so far this year, Texas at Michigan or Georgia in Atlanta against Clemson. Time will tell. My gut is starting to tell me that the Georgia win over Clemson is going to end up being better than the Texas win at Michigan. I feel like Michigan's going to have a couple of more losses. Maybe Dabo does too. But I think Georgia's win over Clemson's better. But Georgia's struggling at Kentucky. We always have this knee-jerk reaction. And that's what we did yesterday. They escaped Lexington with a 13-12 win. So we knew it before we went to bed that the AP voters would put Texas over Georgia. And that's what they did. So 35 first place votes, 23 to Georgia. Ohio State's got 5. They've got Jeremiah Smith, but I don't really know what Ohio State's done yet for those 5 people. But I had Ohio State preseason #1 myself. So I understand. Alabama State #4, Ole Miss 5, Tennessee 6, Missouri 7. So again, this week for the second week in a row, the SEC with 6 of the top 7. I don't know why I'm holding up 2 fingers. They've got 6 of the top 7 spots in the Associated Press poll. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Are you okay with Georgia being jumped by Texas in this situation? I think I'm okay with that because they do have that big win at Michigan and they continue to look good. But feels bad that Georgia lost. I'm just happy Georgia won the football game because both of them are off now. And that does mean Georgia at Alabama in 2 weeks is 2 unbeaten teams. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to get into Hank Brown. I want to get into what Alabama looked like. And I want to get into Billy Napier down at Florida. And I want to get into South Carolina and LSU in that game and a lot of other stuff. But some point spreads first from our friends at mybookie.ag. I can't wait to see what Brown and LT and everyone else has to say about this week's schedule. They dogged last week's schedule. And I thought last week's schedule ended up being pretty good. I mean, it was fun games, right? Georgia, Kentucky was surprisingly good. Colorado State, it is what it is, but it was entertaining. I enjoyed having Oregon and Oregon State and Washington State and Washington at 2:30 in that afternoon window. I watched both of them on separate TVs. The Apple Cup was fantastic. I rarely get to watch the Apple Cup in the old days because there were so many good games going on. I didn't take time to watch the Apple Cup. But on week 3 at 2:30 on that schedule, I watched a lot of Washington State and Washington and was really excited by that Washington State win. So I found that to be interesting. But here's some point spreads. Not a lot of great games this week. The biggest one in the country to me is Tennessee at Oklahoma, because Tennessee looks damn good, man. They look so good. They look equally as good on offense and on defense. Equally as good on defense as they do on offense. And I know they didn't beat anybody this past week. They could have scored 100 if they wanted to. They didn't give up any points. I'm not sure how good NC State is, but they beat them like a drum on the road. And now they play a brand team. They play them on the road, Oklahoma. Not sure Oklahoma can slow them down, but maybe they can. If Oklahoma can't slow them down, I don't know if anybody can, but we're going to see what Brent Venables dials up. Betting odds in this game, surprising to me, it's only 6. I think there's some value if you're a Tennessee believer here. Tennessee -6 is where that opened at mybookie.ag. I expect that number to move a lot. So Tennessee -6 at Oklahoma. Auburn at home to Arkansas. Auburn opening up at -3 at mybookie.ag. -3 as Arkansas comes to town. More on that in a second with Hank Brown at quarterback. USC -5 at Michigan in the big house. USC -5 at Michigan. I think there's value in USC in this game. I'm not sure Michigan is what we thought they should be or would be. Oklahoma State -3 against Utah. Clemson -16 against NC State. Just some of those lines that you get there. In the chat room, I'm not going to bounce them up on the screen tonight. It's just easier for me to read them here quickly. Richard jumps in. Man, Richard, I appreciate everything you have said to us over the years. We appreciate your support. Tennessee going to cover easy in that one. Man, I feel that way too. I'm not sure Oklahoma's offense is good enough against Tennessee's defense. I didn't think that's where I would start when I was thinking about the Tennessee-Oklahoma game. I thought I'd be talking about the great Josh Heupel's offense and the great Brent Venables defense. But I'm going to flip it around. I'm not sure Oklahoma's offense with Jackson Arnold can score enough points against that great Tennessee defense to make that game interesting. So I'm with you. Andrew says Auburn's terrible. We'll get into this in a little bit. What is Auburn right now? Default name, Tennessee looks like a scary matchup for Alabama. I hear a lot of people say that Alabama's going to beat Georgia after last night. And then they always back it up with, I think Tennessee's the toughest game on the schedule. I'm not going to have a problem with that, to be honest with you. As we get going here tonight, I would tell you right now, if you tell me you think Tennessee is the best team in the SEC, I'd let you have that thought. I wouldn't necessarily argue with you. Texas could be. We'll see how what Quinn Ewers looks like after his injury, how long he's out. Still think Georgia's going to have a lot to say. Think Alabama's looking pretty good too so far. But Tennessee looks really good. A couple of comments and we'll get into my Hank Brown thought. Oh, you guys have Hank Brown thoughts already. NH3425. We'll just jump off with this. Hank Brown is accurate, and I don't know if his zip and arm strength was nerves or finding his rhythm, but should be interesting to see how he develops against the SEC teams. Let's start there. And if Little T's watching, I hope she has a nice sip of wine here. I'm going to be the only guy so far. I haven't seen everybody. As I said, I've been doing a lot of stuff today, but I'm going to be the guy that says, let's slow down on Hank Brown for a second. They were playing the 133rd FBS defense last night. And he had that beautiful throw to Keandre Lambert-Smith, that 50-yarder that was a perfect throw. You could not throw a better throw. On the flip side of that, I would tell you today on the golf course, I had a 65-foot putt, big bender, that was for an eagle for our team. Does that mean I'm a great putter and could putt on the PGA Tour? It does not. It meant I had one great shot. Hank threw 4 touchdowns. Again, against the nation's 133rd defense. I'm not sure Peyton Thorne couldn't have had a big night last night. And Peyton Thorne brings you that running element. Hugh Freeze is going with Hank Brown again against Arkansas. And I believe this week we'll get a little taste. And then against Oklahoma, we'll know. We'll know if Hank Brown is everything Auburn fans want him to be. I personally believe it's been too quick to throw Peyton Thorne to the side. I did like last night that Hugh Freeze did not play him when it was mop-up time, that he went to the other guys. It's no need to embarrass your starter, your veteran, the guy who's been there with you and you've stuck by all the offseason. I think it would have been a little embarrassing to put Peyton in mop-up duty. It was Hank Brown, and then you brought in the other guys to come in and mop that game up against what was a feisty New Mexico team. But I'm more concerned right now, and hear me when I say this, I'm more concerned with the middle of the Auburn defense on passing plays, I think, than I am the quarterback position right now. Peyton Thorne, Hank Brown, whoever you go out there, as long as you're working Jarquez into it, I think the offense can be okay. I'm more worried about that hole in the defense right there, that second level hole where it seemed like New Mexico could find a wide open receiver a lot last night. That's what's concerning me right now. I'm more concerned with DJ Durkin's side of the ball than I am Hugh Freeze's side of the ball right now. Am I the only one? I got frustrated last night watching wide open space right there, easy throw in the middle. But Hank Brown was impressive, 17 of 25, 235 and 4 touchdowns. You can't argue with those numbers. It looked fantastic. But again, I'm going to say, but it was against New Mexico and 133. Let's see what he looks like. A little bit better team in Arkansas this week, then a little bit better team in Oklahoma. And then at that point, after you've started with the 5 games at home, before you go on the road, you can tell me Hank Brown's my QB1 all year long, and I'll be okay with that. But right now, big gamble to me for Hugh Freeze that Hank Brown's the guy going into the Arkansas game. I think in my opinion, if Peyton Thorne was the quarterback going into this game, I wouldn't be worried at all. I think it would be a win for Auburn. I want to see how Hank Brown handles a faster. I'll give you one example. I can't show you the videotape, but you Auburn fans know this. You watched it. I bet you Alabama fans were watching too. I think you know this is true too. There was one pass early in the game. In fact, at the time, New Mexico may have been up, but it was a close game in the first half. And this is New Mexico speed. This isn't SEC speed. This is New Mexico speed. There was a pass out to the flat near side to the television camera, and the New Mexico player played the defender, didn't play the ball, got his hand in there. I think an SEC defender steps in front of that and takes it to the other end for a pick 6. If you had the 4 touchdowns but threw that pick 6 early on, would you feel the same about Hank Brown today? Maybe you would. Maybe you wouldn't. But we'll see this week. Fascinated by watching Hank Brown this week. Show brought to you by our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. You can get into the game right now. They got a big bonus. Promo code next round. Jump in and play that deposit bonus. Also get 20% off all your Roback stuff. Beautiful Auburn and Alabama gear. Roback.com. Code TNR, 20% off there for that. This is After Dark. We do this every Sunday night at 10 o'clock. We'll get some of your Hank Brown thoughts here right now. Okay, we'll go to the bottom of the chat. Moving very fast. Landmine Believer, Dunaway, you got to give up on Thorne. He sucks. Disagree. I think he's a serviceable quarterback. James, you're wrong, Jim. I didn't think this was going to be popular so far. 0 for 2. Drew H., I don't disagree. I just wish we would have got their best on all sides to test them one. Jarquez and Alston need 35 carries a game. You know, you go back to the Cal game, and I said this after the Cal game. I think if they'd leaned a little bit more into the run game, you'd be sitting here unbeaten right now, in my opinion. Let's see. That defense and secondary is not good for Auburn. New Mexico is playing backyard ball and giving up everything. C. Williams. Yeah, everyone's talking about another Caleb Williams interception. It moves fast when you go from college to the NFL. AU Clay, Peyton could have feasted on New Mexico other than the rain element. So he agrees with me that also Peyton would have been good last night. Sam, Hank Brown looks like he should be interning with Next Round Live. Hey, maybe he will someday. We do have Peyton on coming up this week. He'll be with us at 9:30 on Tuesday. And I look forward to seeing how he reacted. Everyone in the coaching staff says that Peyton reacted fantastically. And you even saw him a couple of times during the game helping out the youngster at quarterback, pointing some things out. So it's the most interesting game on the slate to me this week because I just want to see what Hank Brown looks like against SEC speed, albeit with Arkansas. Alabama at Arkansas. Alabama at Wisconsin this past week. Having the offensive line in place for the first time, very impressed with the way they protected. More impressed with the fact there were only 4 penalties. They go from all those penalties, all those setbacks last week to only 4 penalties. That was huge to me. The takeaway from this game for me, and we can talk about all of Jalen Milroe's stats, 8 touchdowns, passing, 6 rushing through the games that they played so far this year. I don't know how Wisconsin will end up being this year, so I'm not going to tell you that Alabama just went on the road and beat a playoff contender because I don't think they did. My big takeaway from this game, and I hope it was yours, I hope you noticed, 36 seconds left in the first half. 17 years I watched Nick Saban. 17 years. And I loved the way he coached football, loved the way he won, especially loved the way he recruited. But for 17 years I watched him. And I remember watching Gene Stallings and Mike Shula played an NFL style of book. All of those guys, including Nick Saban, 36 seconds on the road in that situation, 9 out of 10 times, take a knee and go to the locker room. Take a knee and go to the locker room. Kalen DeBoer did not do that. He put the ball in Jalen Milroe's hands. Jalen Milroe completed a big pass. He completed another big pass. And Alabama stole a touchdown going into the locker room and getting the ball coming out, scored a quick touchdown out of the locker room, and that contest was over with. Do you agree with me? Do you think Nick Saban would have taken a knee there or run the ball off tackle? I think he would have played it very, very conservative. And that's not the way Kalen DeBoer played it. And I loved it. I loved it because it worked out first. But number 2, he trusted that Jalen Milroe could do something positive with those receivers. And third, I think he trusted his defense that if something did go wrong, that they would bail him out. I love that aggressive call. Deborah says, great call by DeBoer there. Riley says, exactly. Drew, Saban rarely did things like that, but when he did it, it was big. Hurts Tua in the national championship game and an onside kick against Clemson. You're right. He did not make those wild, because he usually had the better team, right? So Nick would play to the numbers, right? We're up. Let's go into the locker room. We'll get the ball first. Why take a chance here to let Wisconsin back in the game? DeBoer did it, and it was fantastic on Saturday. It was my favorite part of that game. Luka definitely would have run the ball or taken a knee there. Josh, Saban with Kiffin probably takes a shot. More likely the only time he'd ever have tried that. I don't know. I feel like that was a knee or a run-off tackle and take it into the locker room, and that's the way they would have played that. A couple more things I want to get to tonight. Dunaway After Dark before we get back to maybe watching the end of the NFL game or getting ready for work tomorrow. I'm still working on the TV schedule to send out to you guys, so it'll be later tonight when I get that to you. I want to go back to the Georgia game. A lot of people are saying, oh, Georgia's not that good. Georgia may make the playoffs or they may not make the playoffs. Alabama's going to roast Georgia. Kirby said this after the game, and he's not lying. They do this game every year. He pointed out 2 years ago at Missouri. He pointed out last year at Auburn, and now you can point to Kentucky. 13-12, it was ugly football. Carson Beck, got it done exactly when they had to get it done, but Kentucky had chances to win that football game. And that would have disappointed me, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want Georgia to be rolling into Tuscaloosa with that one loss to Kentucky. I want that to be 2 unbeaten teams. Both of them have byes. It's going to be 2 unbeaten teams. But Georgia did not look good. So why did they not look good? Well, they didn't look good because, in my opinion, Tate Rutledge got injured in that game. Big guard for them, big veteran. And like you saw with Alabama, without that whole offensive line, Kentucky's defense that was already playing good started to really flex and push them around in the trenches. That's the one thing that gives me hope for Alabama, is that on both sides of the ball, I thought Kentucky pushed Georgia around in this game, pushed them around in the trenches on both sides. And I think that means Alabama has a chance to do that to them too. I like Alabama in this game at home in 2 weeks against Georgia, and I'm glad they come in unbeaten. But don't give up on Georgia. They always do this. Kirby always does this. He's going to use the fact they're number 2 in the AP poll to his advantage. He'll go in and tell them that nobody thinks they can make the playoffs or nobody thinks they're any good anymore. He'll get them fired up, and they get Alabama next. I'm just glad they won. If they'd have lost that game, it'd have been trouble for Alabama. To their rival in Florida, Billy Napier looks like he's going to be done. There was a false report, or a report that didn't come to truth today. Last I saw, there was no board of trustee meeting like had been reported by a couple of outlets, but Billy Napier is living on borrowed time. There are reports, and when you start seeing reports about contracts and payouts, that usually comes, folks, from the boosters, the trustees, the people that have got to handle the payout, the people who are already getting money together to pay people out. They start to say, well, you know, people are going to be upset when we have to pay Billy $25 million. So we've got to explain it to them that we're not really giving him $25 million. We're only going to give him $12 million when we fire him. And then we're going to pay his salary in installments for the 4 years after that. So we'll end up paying him $25 million, but it's only going to be $12 million now. And then it's going to be a little bit here and a little bit here all the way until he's paid off. We've seen that happen in state with other coaches that have been fired. And so when you break that off and it's $12.5 million or $12.6 million, a one-time payment compared to what Texas A&M did, and then you start paying him basically his salary on a weekly paycheck for a while, it's not that big a deal. So money will not keep Billy Napier safe. And I don't think his coaching will either now. He went to Graham Mertz. I was okay with him starting Graham Mertz. I didn't think DJ Lagway looked as good when he was in there. And that's why you kept seeing Graham Mertz, but everyone was going on the Lagway against Samford. And he didn't look the same in this one. So Mertz kept rolling back out there and trying to keep Florida in the game, and he wasn't able to do it. 7 straight Power 5 losses now for Florida. They get Mississippi State next. I believe that's who's on their horizon. And that's it'll be an interesting football game to see if Billy Napier can win that one. But it's only time now. Once the contract stuff and the payment stuff starts leaking out, it's only time. Did you enjoy South Carolina? And I'll get your comments in a second. Did you enjoy South Carolina and LSU? I sure did. And I don't know about the penalty on roughing the quarterback, on roughing Nussmeier. At some point, I know you can't be sitting there ready to clean his clock to take him out after he throws an interception. But when he starts running downfield, when he takes that first couple of steps and all you do is shove him, you just sort of put your hands into his chest, I don't think that one should have been brought back. Other than that, you still blew a 17-0 lead, South Carolina. So I'm not gonna cry too much over the penalties in that game. I don't think South Carolina would have lost the game if Lenoir had stayed healthy, but they end up losing it, and LSU lives to fight another day. Gutsy effort from LSU to come back. Okay, final thought, fast paced, and we'll do the comments, and we'll get out of here. If you're not paying attention, Gus Malzahn is 3-0. UCF was down 31-13. They rallied and beat TCU 35-34. Kurt Signetti, one-time Alabama assistant, who was at James Madison, who, remember, when he got the job at Indiana, said, all I do is win. Google me, talking to the people who really didn't know who he was. He's 3-0 now to start his job at Indiana. They beat UCLA this past week. By the way, UCLA plays LSU 2:30 this week in Baton Rouge, where LSU should be a favorite in that one. Pitt is also 3-0. Did you see who the quarterback was for Pitt who beat West Virginia? Pitt's 3-0, and their quarterback is Eli Holstein, the former Alabama quarterback, who, because there were so many guys in that quarterback room that could play, never got on the field. Redshirt freshman. He was 21 of 30 for 301 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'll say it again. 21 of 30, 301 and 3 touchdowns for Eli Holstein at Pitt against West Virginia. There's some of you out there who are saying, man, if my team needed a quarterback, why did I not take a look at Eli Holstein? Impressive effort in a rivalry game in the backyard brawl there. Colorado beat Colorado State. It was exactly what you thought it would be. Travis Hunter, 13 catches, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Looking forward to Tennessee and Oklahoma this week and everything else. Let's see what you have in the chat room. Before I jump in there, remember mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag, promo code next round. Also, roback.com, code TNR20, 20% off everything. Remember, tomorrow, Monday Morning Live starts off our live coverage 7 a.m. Central Time. 7 a.m. Central Time. We'll get all of that. Luke, back to the Saban thing, definitely would have run the ball and taken a knee at the end of the half. Riley says the middle 8. Yep, that's what he wants. Also the name of a great show that follows Monday Morning Live. Marcelo and Ryan Brown, middle 8 tomorrow at 8 a.m. Central. But DeBoer went after that middle 8, didn't he? When he played to get points before the half and had the ball coming out. A.U. Clay, Peyton Thorne is taking more than his fair share of blame. Pressure equals bad quarterback play. He's back to the offensive line at Auburn. Needs some work. And, you know, I don't think Hank Brown's as big of a run threat and is mobile, but they did a pretty good job protecting Hank last night. Jim, are you saying that no one thinks Georgia can win? Uh-oh. That's what Kirby's going to tell everybody, that me and 1,000 other people don't believe Georgia can win it all now. He'll have them ready. Trust me, that guy will be ready to go. Michael says Georgia looks like vintage Alabama 2009 to 2013. It's a great point by Michael. You go back there, you'll find that game, that same game every year. In 2009, it was South Carolina when Mark Ingram had to sit there and run the Wildcat to win the game. And you can go in 2011 and 2012 and 2013 and find that one game where you could barely get enough of offense to escape somewhere. Michael, great pull there. Riley, Kentucky was running it down their throats. Couldn't believe they started passing and punted on that last drive. I didn't understand the punt on the last drive either, Riley. They never got the ball back. At that point, it seems like it was go for it, put your chips in the middle of the table and see if you can win the football game. Smuff says, I hate playing big games off of a bye like this, but maybe DeBoer will have them ready to come out less flat than it felt like they did a lot under Saban. Well, all the LSU games were out of a bye. So if you look back, usually Saban was pretty good in that LSU game, right? I don't have it in front of me. I would say in 17 years, I'm going to say Saban was 11-6, 12-5 in those LSU games. Does that sound right? Maybe not. I don't know. Charles, how about LSU stealing a win? Then Brian Kelly said nobody gave LSU a chance all week. I'll tell you, I thought LSU would kill South Carolina. I was surprised it was that close. I thought that was easy money. They ended up not covering for me. Another loss for me on the pick 3. You guys are used to that. Samuel says, I miss Gus Malzahn. I assume you're not an Auburn fan, Samuel. But he is a fun show, man. Seth, how does Billy Napier even get a buyout? Dude was a wide receiver coach. He was the head coach at Louisiana before he got the job, heavily sought after, and he's got a good agent. You may have heard of him. It rhymes with Yimmy Hexton. And that guy, you know, pretty much get you paid. Deborah, Bama versus Georgia game, close for 3 quarters, and then Bama pulls away. It'll be interesting to see how Alabama plays that game because, as you guys were pointing out, Kentucky ran the ball pretty well on Georgia there for a while. And if Alabama's offensive line is healthy and is playing with the talent that I think we all expect him to play with coming into the year. By the way, good to see Proctor on the field finally. then Justice and Jam can make some noise. And then keep in mind, Milroe ran the ball 14 times on Saturday against Wisconsin. So, I mean, it's not the triple option or the wishbone, but there's some opportunities to run the football there. Seth believes Kiffin is going to be the Florida guy if Billy Napier's gone. I probably would say Kiffin 1, and then the Golish guy from USF would be the second choice. That would probably be 1-2. I think that's the way it'll end up going. Eli Holstein. Did I not say Eli Holstein earlier? You're making it sound like I mispronounced it. Did I call it Eli somebody else? I thought I said Eli Holstein. Oh, Holston. I said Holston, I bet. Eli Holstein. Yep, he did look good for Pitt. Absolutely. Josh says he's been good all year. Lance, Michigan sure needs one. Quarterback sucks. Yeah, Michigan definitely. I mean, not just Auburn looking for a quarterback. Maybe Hank's the guy. But remember, they were not looking for anyone in the portal. And boy, Eli Holstein at Michigan would have kept that rolling along. Cody, I'm going down to watch your Bucks this weekend. 2-0. Go get them, Cody. 2-0 now. They beat the Lions today. Baker Mayfield's so good. I'm still mad at Taylor Korn for picking Baker Mayfield in our fantasy draft. A lot of you saying Vandergriff is abysmal. Left Georgia, went in there. Any update on the Cam Rising injury? I would tell you, I think the betting line that says Oklahoma State -3 against Utah tells you all you need to know about the Cam Rising injury there, Andrew, at UCF. I feel like Utah would be the favorite in that game if Vegas thought he was going to play. Kevin, do you see Coach Prime going to Florida State? I do not. I do not. The question becomes, what do you do with Mike Norvell? Do you let him ride through this? They're 0-3, and they've got a losable game this week. I forget who they play, but it's a losable game. They could be 0-4, especially considering who they've lost to already. I don't have it right in front of me who they play this week, but they could lose again this week, and they could be 0-4. So I don't know how bad it has to get. I remember at Alabama way back in the day, Mike Dubose, who everyone thought he was going to get fired, lost at the went to the Swamp, got the win. Sean Alexander led that team, and they won the SEC championship, right? And then Dubose gets another year, and they start out preseason top 4, and then they only win 3 games, and he gets fired. So it was like championship, contract extension, fired. And that's what this feels like at Mike Norvell. So if they end up with only 3 wins this year, I guess you could pull the plug, but I don't think they're going to be looking right now. I don't think they're going to be looking right now. By the way, little thought from me, got asked on the golf course today, because of their 0-3 start, do you think, Jim, that Mike Norvell really was offered the Alabama job? I do not. I do not. The way the Alabama search went, in my opinion, hey, Kirby, would you want to come back to Alabama? No, you're got it going at Georgia. You're a Georgia alum. Okay. Just wanted to ask. Sark, you want to leave Texas now that you've got it built up and come back to Alabama? You're okay. You want to do your own legacy there? Gotcha. Dan Lanning, you want to come and, you were here for a year. You want to come and do what you were doing with Kirby and you're doing it at Oregon now? Follow Nick? Nope. You're going to stay there at Oregon. Kalen DeBoer. And then Kalen took the job. Kalen DeBoer was always on the list. I never think Mike Norvell. He may have been on a list somewhere. The agents may have thrown his name out there to get him this great contract. But I don't think he was ever going to be the coach at Alabama. And I don't think he'll get fired because I think he has a great contract, and they're not going to pay that. Philip Prime's a joke of a coach. I just don't think he has the I don't think he's building the inner workings of the Colorado program to the liking of what Florida State would want in this situation. But that was a big win for them. We'll see what he does with it the rest of the year. Lance, I think Norvell has like a $70 million buyout. You're 100%. It is north of 70. It would be Jimbo Fisher-esque to get rid of him. Steve, Saban lost to LSU 5 times in his time at Bama. So I was close, 12. So 17 years, 12-5. And every one of those were out of a bye week. Every one of them. So, yeah, Jam is good. Deborah, I appreciate that. Jam Miller's good. So is Justice. Charles says, make Norvell suffer the rest of the season with DJU. See, that's. I mean, Hugh Freeze is pulling out Peyton Thorne, and I understand why. And Hugh's got to coach his team, and maybe Hanks ends up being the guy. But I mean, we know what DJU is. If I'm coaching at Florida State, how do you not make a change? Well, I mean, let the guy at QB2 get out there and see what he does. I appreciate all the great. Oh, Jeff says it's at Mississippi State. That's where Florida goes this week. Where does Florida State guys go? Oh, there we go. Florida's at Mississippi State. It's Florida State I'm looking for. I don't have to. I got all my devices on here and don't have it pulled up. Where does Florida State go? It's a losable game. I remember seeing it earlier today, and I was thinking to myself, dang, they could lose that game. They're not playing a top 25 team, or they'd be on my sheet here in front of me. There are a few top 25 matchups. Oh, Cal, there you go. Thank you, guys. Cal. Thank you, Sam, Richard, James, Josh. That's losable, right? We just saw Cal beat Auburn. So the way Florida State's playing, that's losable. Not that I'm cheering for them to be 0-4, but they did talk some shit about Alabama in the SEC last year, didn't they? All right. Thank you, guys. We'll do it with a guest next week. I just was caught up on the golf course and didn't want to call anybody 2 hours before doing this. It's sort of insulting to say, hey, man, can you jump on with us in 90 minutes? And I wanted to give Taylor a break, and she obviously would have jumped on no problem. But I would have said something about Hank Brown, and then Taylor would have got pissed off at me, and we'd have started Monday on the wrong foot. Hey, some interesting announcements on the show this week, so make sure you tune in. Remember, we're live on the next round, 9 to 12 every day Central Time. But tomorrow we start early, 7 o'clock with Monday Morning Live. It's me and Tom Luganville. I'll do a lot less talking on that show and let Lugs give you his thoughts and everything. 8 o'clock is the middle eight, Brandon Marcello, Ryan Brown. Then 9 to 12 is our show. 12 o'clock is overtime with the news conferences. And then at 1 o'clock, we've got Lance and Brock Heward with Unlocked. All that tomorrow. The meltdown comes your way at 2 o'clock. No Luntz for tomorrow. I think he is still on a little bit of a vacation. But thank you guys for being with us. Dunaway After Dark. Do me a favor before you get out of here. Like or subscribe or give us a thumbs up depending on what platform you're watching. And I promise you, this is the first alcoholic drink I've had. I just can't speak tonight because I am battling the fact that I hit this long eagle putt in a tournament today. It was an amazing putt. I wish Brown had been with me so he could tell it on the show tomorrow. It was a 65-foot bender into the hole out there at the Hoover Country Club. Perfect. And it was the first time I'd seen Star Lake since I was in high school as I went to the Hoover Country Club. I never play out there, got to play there today. And if you're from the area, if you know about Star Lake back in the day. It was always a good place to go just park your car for a little bit on a Friday night. All right, that's Dunaway After Dark. You guys have a blessed rest of your night. Enjoy the end of the NFL game, and I'll see you later.